What is up? Hi, Nicole. Hope you've been well. We are live. All right, we're gonna get this thing kicked off in about 2 minutes. We're gonna give everybody an extra few minutes to log on. We're gonna be kicking off day 11. Really excited about kind of doing a recap on how to become a great sponsoring machine. So I'm really excited for everybody to join. Hi, what's up, Tim? Hi, Teresa. Hi, Kaylee. Hi, Christine. Hi, Kate. Lisa. Welcome to the call. We got Utah in the house. Good morning, Nicole. Yes. I am actually really excited. I had a 7-day run out in South Korea, and we just promoted our very first director in South Korea. So we're really excited about that. Really, I think this is a game changer coming out of the convention. Coming out of this convention, it's a game changer. We have compensation enhancements. We have the new digital platform that's going to be going live very soon. And we're just really excited, right? We got the all new ICD. We have color makeup coming out. That's something really exciting, especially for the ladies. It's just going to add more revenue, more excitement, more hype to your business as well. So in about a minute, we're going to get this thing kicked off. I want to thank everybody for being here, taking the time to carve it out and really invest. I am going to be kicking this call off. So welcome, everybody. My name is Christopher Kim. I am a national director here at Remon. And also, I like to kind of represent our team, right? Team 1%, right? Team 1%. For those of you that have been wondering really what Team 1% means, it means to be the elite of the industry. We talk about something called the 5 and the 95, right? There's the 5%ers and the 95%ers. And usually it's the 5%ers that run all of the 95, right? 95% of the population, they're in their careers, working paycheck to paycheck or working a job. But, there's a lot of people that really don't understand how wealth is accumulated. And most of the wealth is consolidated to the 5%ers. And in that 5%, there is the 1%, which are known as the extremely wealthy. And then there's the 4%, which are the financially independent. And that 1% is known as that top tier cream of the crop, right? And we have this our systems and duplicatable programs that, you're going to be able to become one of the elite, become a top 1%er in this industry so that you could change your life and you could really go where you want to go. And Remon is the perfect vehicle that can help you do that. So with that said, I'm going to kick off the training. Welcome, everybody, as we have more and more people logging on. I'd like you to take great pride in being in part of Team 1% because you are, in fact, learning from the best. You have Mr. Timothy Herr, you have Mr. Danny Bay, you also have Miss Betty Perez, and also you have all these top leaders like Miss Brianna Michaels, Susan Manuelo, we have Dr. Rimka, Miss Jen Barsamian, and the list goes on and on and on with these directors and senior directors. And as you know, these leaders are here to serve you, and they have your best interest at heart. So we all want to see you win. And today, to kick off day 11, I have the honor of talking about following up. I have a nickname that is not really shared, but Mr. Tim Herr always calls me the bill collector or the tax collector because I am relentless when it comes to recruiting and following up. And I'll kind of share with you guys my mindset, why I'm like that. I'm not just obnoxious. I do this with intent and with a science. But, Tim Herr always says, Chris, if you ever can't do network marketing, you can always become a successful IRS agent and knock on people's doors. It's funny, but, I guess it's a testament to my tenacity and my commitment to being consistent. But here's what I learned along the way. When it comes to recruiting and following up, this is one of the most dreaded topics. It is uncomfortable. But the reality of the matter is you must do the uncomfortable till it becomes the comfortable. And this goes to being able to serve your team and bring value to your team when your team needs you most. And, in the process of recruiting, I'm going to kind of talk about a few things that I want to kind of cover before I really get into the follow-up. But here's what I want to leave you with as I start. You cannot lose in the game of sponsoring, because remember, whoever you're contacting, they were never yours to begin with. So you have to have a mindset. You have everything to gain and absolutely nothing to lose. So it's all about just me being able to take that action, right? And I've learned a lot of things along the way. I was not a good recruiter when I first started in the industry. Some of you have heard this joke, but I will say it in the Riemann language. But at the time, 18 years ago, Mr. Timothy Herr would call me the national director of complaining, because all I would do was complain, right? Because things didn't go my way and things didn't transpire the way that I hoped. And there was a reason why those things were being that way. And the first part was I was not coachable. And really, a lot of times when we bring in people to our business, we bring in successful people, average people, people looking for a break. But, you know, in my career, I was successful as a singer. So I was used to a certain way of doing things and being treated a certain way. But what I needed was a good dose of humility, my good dose of humble pie. Because Mr. Timothy Herr had said, yesterday's home runs don't win today's games. And that was a real eye-opener for me, because lots of times we have successful people come into this business, right? Whether you're a doctor or a successful entrepreneur, an engineer, or a lawyer, or whatever you are doing, or you're successful in your business. And a lot of times, you know, the fantasy of you being successful over there, you know, they come in with the idea that they're already successful here. And that's where, you know, a lot of the times people have to end up making a U-turn because they're not coachable. But the key and success to this business is to not question and absolutely be coachable. And first, you got to be bad before you actually get good, right? And one thing you have to know is this helped me a lot. Jim Rohn said, the law of averages will work in your favor, right? And, you know, with homage to the opening of Mexico, I want to share a little acronym. There's a city called Sinaloa in Mexico, right? But there's also an acronym for that word Sinaloa. It means safety in numbers and law of averages. And this is not just in your networking business. It's in any type of business that you would like to attain sales or get some results. And usually the bottom line is you talk to 10, you're going to get 1, right? Just by the fact that the law of averages is working for you. And a lot of people ask, well, if I talk to 10, how come that one person said yes? And I talked about it in the convention. And the fact of the matter is, most people are a yes or a no before you even talk to them. And once you understand this, the recruiting game becomes really easy, and you can use this into your favor. It's just like this, right? Whether, you know, you decided to join Riemann or not, it wasn't that you went out looking for Riemann opportunity. You were just open-minded into making more money and creating a better space to make money for yourself. And at that timing, somebody happened to talk to you about Riemann, and that became the yes, right? Same thing, right? If somebody tells you a no, you can't really take it personal because they were already a no before they talked to you. Why? Because, you know, somebody might be going through a divorce, or somebody might have went bankrupt, or somebody is in the middle of a car accident, or, you know, they're in a transition in their business. Whatever the case may be, a no was already a no. So once you understand this, it doesn't get any personal. You start to understand that it's a sorting game. It's all about sorting from the yeses, the no's, and the maybe so's. And once you understand this, you just keep working your law of averages, and you will see your business grow overnight and fly. Once you really understand what follow-up is all about, and really how to really have the right mindset, you're going to be unstoppable, right? You're going to be very, very unstoppable. And the key to this business is all about what? Transferring the belief, right? So in the beginning, it's not really about necessarily the information you pass along or things like that. That matters, right? Because those are going to answer questions. It gives credibility, but it's all about your conviction in this business and a compelling story. Now, when you look at any opportunity out there and you ask yourself, does Riemann in particular have a compelling story? Yes, we do. Do our products deliver results? Yes, we do. If you do the work, will you get paid? Yes, you do. So every factor has that element of delivering really delivering that belief, the transfer of belief, right? So our job is to just transfer that belief and understand that there's going to be three categories of people that we always talk to, right? I talked about like the whale, the shark, the urchin, and the dolphin. Those are characteristics of people, what their energy and personality is like. But there's also another category where there's people that look up to you, there are your peers, and then there's the people that you look up to as well. And this is going to give you a great understanding on how to take the angle of the follow-up and really how to approach them. But I want to give you guys a disclaimer. As you guys start your sponsorship journey, just know that sometimes, even in detail, right, the people you think that will won't, and the people you think that won't will, a lot of times, some of your even closest friends, they might not get started. And even after you do well and become a team leader or a director or a senior director or a national director, they still might not get started. And that's okay. Whether it's because of pride or, they feel like they just can't do it, that's okay. Your job is to promote and sort and really go through the process of follow-up. And it's okay. Not everybody's going to get started. One of my best friends, till this day, he hasn't gotten started, But on the flip side, there's other friends that have come to me and said, hey, how come you never recruited me? How come you went along and became successful by yourself? And that was from prejudging, right? So that was another lesson learned, that you can't prejudge the people you think that will, won't, and the people you think that won't, will. So understand that, like, it's really the luck of the draw where people are in their place. And it's not your job to convince or force people across the start line, because what happens is when you pressure somebody to really start that start line with you, you have to drag them across the finish line. So this is where you have to have some discernment and understand also the value of your time. But I want to kind of talk about really the basis of follow-up, right? Before you do a follow-up, right, the most important part is not really, Jim Rohn talks about this all the time, right? It's not the blowing of the wind, but the set of the sail, right? So when I go into a one-on-one, a two-on-one, or a three-on-one on a Zoom meeting in particular, you could go ahead and ask any of the team leaders, directors, and senior directors that have done a Zoom with us, right? Most of the time, you will always see me and Mr. Tim Herr ask a lot of questions and let the guests talk. And when you let the guests talk, several things are going to happen in the recruiting process, right? I talked about form, right? Family, occupation, recreation, and money. I ask a lot of form questions to really understand where their situation is, what type of an animal matrix they're going to be in, watch how they talk, what their interests are, and a lot of things. And I listen. And two of one major factor things are happening back and forth. Number one, as you let them talk, right? We let them talk for like 10 minutes. We take real interest, listen carefully to see what they're trying to say. And we listen very carefully because we want to know where their hot buttons are, what type of personality they are, what their interest is. But along the lines, while that's going on, you have to understand that your prospect is becoming more and more open-minded, relating to you, opening their heart, telling you what's on their mind. And when you're doing that, you're already kind of navigating your guest into the yes sphere of, vibing with you, connecting with you. They already have this great feeling you're listening to them, you're connecting with them, I can partner with them. You're giving them that level of confidence just by letting them speak. Now, first and foremost, not everybody's going to say yes in the beginning. Most will say, I got to think about it, I don't know. But remember, that's not really a no. Some will say yes based on maybe your confidence or based on the relationship and the trust you have. Those people are the easy yeses. They're going to come in. But for the people that really don't understand or don't really know, you have to understand this. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person and the right thing to the wrong person, right? So in that feeling, right, while you're, doing your form, and letting that person talk, they're also going to remember how you made them feel. Even if they didn't say yes at that moment, they will always remember how you made them feel. And it goes to say, right, you don't have a second chance to leave a first impression. So all of us, we do the best to listen, facilitate what their needs and wants are. And at that moment in time, we try to make our own assessment that it's timing and not talent. Now, if the iron is hot, we go in for the strike, ask them to get started. A lot of the times, a lot of the tips that I want to share with you is, if they're ready to go, most of the time, what I do is I fill out the application for them, right? Because they don't know what to expect. There's a lot of comfort in you kind of assisting them into that, right? So a lot of the times I do take the effort to fill out the application for them. And in the follow-up process, I want you to remember this, okay? A lot of times, especially new planners, they feel really, really awkward to ask for that payment, right? The credit card or, like just asking the money, right? But I want to give you like a mindset to remember when you're in that recruiting space. When you go to a 7-Eleven or a Ralph's and you're waiting for the cashier to ring you up and you're ready to pay, is that cashier super nervous? Is that cashier scratching their head and wondering how to ask you to pay? Absolutely not. Would that be cash or card? Can I get your payment? They say it very naturally, right? So in that moment, I do ask, like, I'll fill out the application for you. And if they're okay with you filling out the application, at the end, I ask Visa or MasterCard or Amex, what's comfortable for you? And a lot of things that I leave a note with is, by the way, these products have a 30-day money-back guarantee. And they come in with a peace of mind knowing that their investment is safe, right? So it's a lot about facilitating how to make that person feel, right? Another thing is, this is all about speed and exposure. It's not necessarily about convincing somebody to death. When that happens, like I said, you're going to drag them across the start line, drag them across the finish line. And a lot of times there's really no accountability. So what you want to do is spend literally 1 minute on 100 people rather than 100 minutes on really one person, because this is about speed and exposure. It's easy to do fast and hard to do slow, and success loves speed, right? So a lot of the times you want to be a leader, just always make sure that the fortune is in the follow-up, right? And in that follow-up, what you have to understand is it's all about getting that list once you get them in, right? So you have to understand when somebody tells you, oh, I don't know that many people, they're telling you, I don't know if I'm prejudging, but I don't know if I know that many people that might do this business. They're not telling you, I'm not sure, I don't know that many people. So you got to kind of learn to read between the lines. And the truth of the matter is, most people have about 100 phone contacts, 100 email contacts, and 100 social media contacts. So that's a list of about 300 to start with, right? But a lot of times what I've noticed is a lot of distributors that when they first get started, they're not confident. They're not sure, right? They're not sure if they want to introduce, right? But when you can take them through this journey of a recruit and follow up, they will build their confidence, especially when you get them that result that they're looking for, right? And I guarantee you, once you get them that first recruit, magically they're going to remember they have more people in their contacts. Oh, I remember this guy, I remember that guy. So it's all about that transfer of belief. Once you will help a new distributor, a new planner, get that first recruit or that first customer or that first experience or any first yes, just know what you're doing is injecting that level of confidence and belief. So what I want to really talk about is that follow-up aspect, right? A lot of times what you have to understand is no doesn't really mean no, right? No means I'm not sure, I need to think about it, give me some assurance, let me know. So to give you an example, there was somebody that I had recruited and I had prospected, right? And they said no. The timing wasn't right for them. But guess what? I figured I'd read between the lines, because when someone tells you a no, you're gonna know it's an absolute no. They will tell you straight up, no, it's not for me. I'm not going to do it. I'm not interested. But thank you for your time. For those people, respectfully, that is a no. But for the people that are like, I'm not sure, maybe so, maybe not, I need to think about it, those people are actually a yes, but they're just saying, give me a little more confidence, give me a little bit more information. Why don't you push me over the ledge so that I can say yes? That's how I take it, because if they're a no, they'll let you know. But, when they're just like, oh, I got to think about it, what I learned was, that's where the fortune is in the follow-up. And this is what the data says, right? 58% of salespeople quit completely after a single contact. This is true. This is what changed the game for me. This is when I understood really in my heart of hearts, I cannot lose. Because if somebody tells me a no, they were never mine to begin with. If somebody tells me a yes, my business is growing and I'm advancing into where I want to go. And once you understand this, you will become unstoppable. And I'm not telling you to be aggressive or pushy. Just do it in your own way that you're comfortable with. But it's all about tenacity and consistency. I'm not saying being pushy. I'm not saying be a hard closer, go get the money. That's not what I'm saying. It's all about reaching out, sending a ping. You there? And they ping you back. I'm here. Another ping here. Are you there? I'm here. And when you get that ping every single time, that's a response saying, I'm interested. Tell me more. I guarantee you this is the case. Whether it's a car salesman, insurance sales, timeshare, whatever it is, this is the data that comes out. And you can apply this to your network marketing business. Now, 20% make 2 calls before giving up. Okay, 20%. Okay, 7% out of 100 make 3 calls. After that, 7%. And then there's the 15% that make that 5 calls or more. So 85% of the people are not following up. So meaning you're going to be 85% ahead as a top recruiter as long as you're willing to do the follow-up, right? 15% of the salespeople that make 7 calls or more produce about 75% of the business, right? A lot of people will tell you, like, Chris is a bill collector. He's an IRS agent. He will not stop. And the reason for that is I make it a point to follow up to 7 or 8 times. Okay. This last convention, there was a senior director named Robert and Joan Nunn, right? These guys are veterans in the industry. They made close to $20 million and they were, they had a little bit of a hiatus, but I knew in my heart of hearts, Remon is just perfect for these guys. And they told me no. They told me no and no and no, and they gave me every reason in the book. And guess what? On the 8th try, they said yes. Now, if you were to do that and follow up 8 times and it will land you a senior director in your business, is it worth it? Absolutely, because you have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. They were never yours to begin with, right? But once you start out knocking on that door of follow-up and tenacity, you will understand, it's not necessarily about yeses and nos. It's about going through the process of follow-up and using the law of averages. This is when I truly understood you cannot lose. And when I understood that it's always going to be 4 types of people, a shark, a whale, a dolphin, or an urchin, and all I need to do is just kind of learn to speak their language and be the best follow-up king, right? And here's what I noticed too, right? What happened? A lot of the times, I said no when a lot of people called me and tried to inquire me, try to get my business. Oh, I'm not interested. It's just that weird phone, taking that cold call, right? Even though I'm in the market looking for one, right? Like, why? Because I want to buy it on my terms. There's something I'm looking for. But there's that one car sales agent that made you feel good, right? He made you feel comfortable. Come on down. You don't have to buy. Come ask all your questions. Well, guess what? He got my business, right? Why? Because he understood the client that he's talking to, what type of person I am. He understood what I'm looking for, and he started matching my language, and he started giving me the information that I wanted, stuff I was interested in. And soon enough, guess what? The communication became reciprocal, and then what? I bought the car. It's just the same thing. Just understand, a lot of the times people are going to tell you no, not because they're not interested, but they're not sure, or the timing, right? You guys have heard many other stories, right? There was another female director, that had an executive husband that worked for a cosmetic company, this was a 6-month follow-up, right? But I just did not stop, and I wasn't going to stop until that person told me, no, thank you for your time, but at this moment, I'm not interested. Unless I get a real hard no, I will follow up. I guarantee you. Now, it's all about also having that level of awareness, not to be obnoxious, be polite, but that's where it comes into understanding who your prospect is, who you're really talking to, and how you should manage your time, right? And in the convention, Miss Brianna Michaels talked about the 80-20 rule, right? In this business, you're going to hear a lot about the 80-20 rule that applies to you in many ways, right? You have to understand 80% of the people might make 20% of the income. Why? Because 80% might be all part-time people looking for that extra, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, right? But then there's going to be the 20% of the people that possibly make 80% of the money. Why? Because they're going full-time. They're dedicating all their time into their business. dedicated to building a full-time business, right? But the 80-20 rule also applies in the follow-up game and in the game of recruiting, right? So in the short game, right, you want to spend 80% of your time on your red apples. What that means is the red apples are your yeses, right? Those are the people that said, yes, I trust you. I believe in the vision. I'm coming with you. I'm changing my life with Riemann, right? Those are the people you want to spend 80% of your time with, right? But 20% of your time, that's where you want to be effective and stretch your time wisely and use it in the game of following up. You know, I spend 20% of my time, even now, following up, whether it's an industry leader or a new person, I'm constantly following up, right? That's where I get the name bill collector or tax collector. It's because I know for a fact, once I get through the 8, 7, 8 or 9 follow-ups, I'll know where we are, right? But also, this is just kind of like a rule of thumb, but you know, some might take a little more, some might take a little less. That's where you got to kind of pay attention from the form you did, the FORM, and really understanding the personality matrix. And that's how you could kind of navigate and gauge where that person's energy is. But once you kind of go through the follow-up session, you will be unstoppable. And guess what? Once you teach this, your team will duplicate this and you will have a follow-up machine, right? So for those of you, I'm not telling you to be obnoxious. Do it in your own clever way. Do it in your own, smooth way. Do it. Just be you. Be cool. Be nice. But just let them know, ping, I'm here. How are you? Ping, did you like the product? Ping, what do you think? Ping, can I give you some samples? Ping, there's a Zoom. What would you like, would you like to come on? And at some point, somebody might just break and say yes, or somebody might, based on those follow-ups, based on just watching you, right? Wow, this guy's so consistent. I think I can be successful with this person. That confidence alone can inject that confidence in them to get started, right? So all of these things do matter, right? And the last part is 0% of your time into what? Rotten apples, right? Do not spend your time with rotten apples. Do not let rotten apples near your green apples or your red apples. Why? Because the rot can be contagious too, right? You don't want any toxic dream stealers telling people their opinion on what they really don't know about. So the 80-20 rule is absolutely important. Spend 80% of your time really recruiting and spending time with the new people, but also you want to spend 20% of your time doing that follow-up. Remember, you cannot lose in this game. In this business, there's mostly people that quit. Right there, you can't fail in this business. You can only quit. So if you don't quit, you can't fail. It's all about that time investment. And I'm telling you what I'm telling you about following up and recruiting. This is just a little tweak you need to do. Just add a little bit more time investment just to make that call. Hey, I'm calling. How are you doing? How'd you like the product? And just whether you send them, our new video or the collagen mask or some new exciting announcements such as the K-Beauty color makeup, whatever that is, every single thing you're sending is an exposure and a follow-up, and it becomes a catalyst to really spark another conversation to talk, right? So understand that following up is the name of the game. You cannot lose. Most of the time, on the 7th or the 8th try is where you're going to find your success. Okay. So, in closing, here's what I want to leave you with, right? The people that you want to really talk to, right, is the people that look up to you. They're going to trust you. They're going to believe in you and believe that you're going to be able to take them where they want to go. And that's why they're going to trust you and get started. And there is a level of accountability. You must become a leader. You have to be honest. You have to lead your people. But at the same time, there's those peers that you have that you grew up with, right? People that are your friends. They might trust you, but they might not necessarily respect you, right? Like whatever income that I've made, my friend from 4th grade, he's not going to be like, oh, Mr. Millionaire Christopher Kim. To him, I'm just Chris. So he trusts me, but he doesn't respect me, right? So in that part, that's where edification is so important. And you edify your upline. Why? By edifying your upline, you're creating that level of respect and the trust that creates that level of open-mindedness for your prospect. Now, the people that you look up to, a lot of the times, I go to them and say, I come across this really unique project, and I respect you, and I know how successful you are. and I'd like to get your opinion. Can you come and take a look at it with me? And a lot of the times, people that are business savvy, open-minded, and entrepreneurs, it'll be easy to see that there is an opportunity here. And a lot of times those people get started after meeting with your upline. So there is always a method to the madness. It's just about applying, being a good student, and having tenacity. Once again, having tenacity. Tenacity is 80% of what's going to make up your success. It's not really how great of a presenter you are or how you can close. It's all about having that consistency, tenacity, and the willingness not to give up. And remember, on your 7th, 8th, maybe 9th exposure, that's where you're going to get a yes. So be the king and queen of follow-up. You're going to be one of the best recruiters on your team. The best thing I can say to you today, guys, is to apply this into action. Jim Rohn says it best, right? Like, knowledge attained without labor is wasted, right? So you have to take action. It's not knowledge is power, but it's really knowledge applied is really the power. So I'll leave you guys with that. We're coming out of convention with a lot of momentum. We have new compensation plan upgrades and enhancements. We have the K-Beauty makeup coming out, the all-new reveal of the ICD, and we have our new platform, right? Weekly pay with the monthly pay, real-time commission, real-time promotions. So I'm really excited for the Remon family and Team 1%. So with that said, I hope I left you guys a little bit of golden nuggets for you to be an effective recruiter. Be the best follow-up leader in your team. So with that said, thank you guys very much. I hope you guys have a rest of the wonderful day, and let's be productive. I'll see you guys at the top. I love you guys. We are always here for you. Team 1%. Let's go. Have a great day. Bye, guys.